introduction to the book of Exodus, where we'll introduce the book, share with you some information on the book of Exodus, as opposed to getting into the scripture. And hopefully it will be of some help to you.
Thank you.
If we were to give the book of Exodus a title, it would probably be Meeting the King's People.
Oh, yes.
Referring to God as being the king. Mm-hmm. And so we're getting ready to meet the king's people. Okay. And it carries with it the idea of God being king and us being citizens of the kingdom. Mm-hmm. And so what we have here is the establishment of the kingdom, or the beginning of God's people,
right,
or the citizens of the kingdom. And so we're going to begin by just we're going to do a lot of reading tonight. And so if you have some questions, please stop in and ask questions about it. The book of Exodus tells an important story. The word Exodus literally means a way out. So when we look at the book of Exodus, we're actually looking at a way out. God is providing his people with a way out. But before they got a way out, he had to bring them where? He had to bring them in.
Right.
And so the book of Exodus is really talking about once they got down in Egypt, how God brought them out of Egypt. He created a circumstances for them to come to Egypt. And now, in the book of Exodus, he's providing a way for them to come out. So it literally means a way out. Mm-hmm. And that is precisely what this second book is about. It is the book of the Bible that describes God who provided a way out for his people, mm-hmm. Who were slaves in Egypt. And that's what God always does, is provide a way out for his people. Central to that story is the character of Moses, whom God prepares and then calls to challenge Pharaoh to lead God's people out of slavery. God always raises up a man, although God can do it. But he chooses, God chooses to use humans to do the work on other humans. All the way through the Bible, you'll see where God used somebody to do a particular job. I want us to notice that, because we're always talking about God did such and such, and God is going to do this, and God is going to do this. But I want you to know that whenever God moved, he always used somebody. And even God predetermined who was going to get the victory, but he used someone to get the victory. So it does not eliminate God, but it does tell us how God does things, that he always uses other people to get done what he wants to get done. And he used humans. That's what I wanted to tell you. So going back here, central to that story is the character of Moses, whom God prepares and then calls to challenge Pharaoh to lead God's people out of slavery and to be their leader in the first stage of their journey toward the promised land. And central to is the defining meeting with God on Mount Sinai, where God spoke to his people, giving them laws and constituting them a theocracy And a theocracy is a nation which was to be holy, set apart for God's worship and service. And so here it talks about how God first spoke to Moses. We all know the story of the burning bush. And then once God communicated with Moses, then Moses went down, worked several miracles, brought the people out of Egypt, and brought them to Mount Sinai. And it was there at Mount Sinai where both Moses and God talked with the people of Israel. God didn't talk too much to the people, but that was a very short period of time where he did. But most of the time, he talked to Moses and told Moses what to tell the people. So we want to establish how God is working with his people. We want you to see that. I want you to see how when the people cooperated, what happened to them, and when they did not cooperate, what happened to them. Any questions about that? Any comments about it? Okay. The book of Exodus is the second part of a 5-part work. Who knows what that 5-part work is?
Yeah, it's
What is it?
the Pentateuch.
Correct.
And then
And
the
what is the
Pentateuch
Pentateuch?
is the first 5 books of the Bible. Genesis,
First 5 books of the Bible, and they are?
Genesis, Exodus, Leviticus, Numbers, Deuteronomy.
Who knows what Genesis deals with?
The
There's another word for it.
beginning.
Beginnings. Genesis deals with beginnings. What does Exodus deals with?
A way out.
Way out. Exit. Leviticus.
Not like the law.
Practices and things that they do.
And what is that called?
Found in Leviticus.
Leviticus. What does that deal with? What does Leviticus deal with?
Giving them guidelines, giving them their guidelines.
I don't know.
So we got Genesis dealing with beginning. We got Exodus dealing with God giving them a way out or exit. They're exiting Egypt. Genesis, Exodus. Then we got Leviticus. What do you think Leviticus is all about?
Laws relating to the priest.
God's guidebook.
For what? And you're right.
His newly redeemed people.
What are they to do? You're right.
Worship with God through
Huh?
sacrifice.
Through what?
Through sacrifices.
And what is that called? You're right on all accounts. You're right on all those
The
accounts.
atonement for their sins.
And what is that called?
Obey.
Substitute.
All of what y'all saying is right. But it's a part of the whole picture.
The burnt offerings.
What is that? What is that doing?
It's a worship.
It's
There it is, right there. Who said that? That's what Leviticus is all about. Leviticus is about worship. All of what y'all said is right, but it was a part. Leviticus is about worship. So let's review. Genesis is about beginnings, right? Exodus about
Way out.
the way out. So Leviticus is about
worship.
Deuteronomy. No.
Numbers.
No, we didn't get there yet.
Numbers.
Numbers. Think about Numbers. Why would you call a book Numbers?